Am I live? Am I really live? Let me double check. Oh, this wasn't done. Great. This was definitely not done. Definitely mishap. It's crazy because it's like nerve wracking. You're trying to really, um, I was trying to do like a special live stream today. I hope this is working. I was trying to do a special live stream uh, of the shows of the Rick H show of um of now I feel stupid because I've been saying of several times. So this is a full circle moment for me. Um let's start at the beginning. When I first did the Rick H show, I originally wanted to do something and be part of something bigger than myself. Um I didn't create this show by myself. I don't think I've ever said that. I think in a lot of interviews, I reiterated that it was like a an idea that was derived out of conversations that I had. So historically, the show was created by me, myself, me, Paul, and Benny. Um, and as it grew on, multiple people were involved in the process of it. Um, the reason I created the Rick Gay Show was to be a part of something bigger than myself and to share an experience and a space because we thought that wouldn't it be great to share some of our conversations that we have at work, right? Um, so we talked and talked and talked and talked and talked about doing this podcast for a while, and what ended up happening was someone had to take the initiative. And I really believed that we had something like as a group. And I took the initiative. Yeah, my name was on the show. That's one of the things that if you don't know, I've always regretted that my name was on the show and it wasn't something that was like a shared thing. Um, but as the show progressed, it became an outlet for me. It became something I enjoyed. It became something I love doing. Uh, it was. I hope you guys could. The stream is lagging. Are you guys able to see it and hear it in real time? Because I can't tell. Because normally the software I use is amazing, and this really isn't like panning out how I wanted it. Um, but anyways, regardless of that, uh, maybe I should just record this because I don't think the streaming is working. Is it? Okay, Jason says everything is working. Everything's working. You see me clearly. You don't see me like fuzzy. Everything is streaming. Jason, I'm relying on you for this. Um, so September 6th of 2018 was actually the day that we recorded the first episode of the Rick Gates Show. So exactly 6 years to the day, I recorded the first episode of the Rick Gates Show. Myself, Paul, and Benny. I don't know if Rob was in that first episode, but yeah, we did it. It was an idea. Did we develop it? Did we grow it? Did we nurture it? Did we give it the attention it should have got from the beginning? I don't know. But it was it was great for me. I loved doing it. I enjoyed recording it. I didn't love editing it, publishing it, promoting it, marketing it, and I didn't love the other things that comes with podcasting. So the show grew and grew and grew, and um I think like the third season we really had hit a point where we knew what it was. Like we knew, I wouldn't say we knew what it was. We had an idea of what it could be and what it was at that point. Um, I've always had like a big idea of what it could become, but yeah, it was a collective effort. So like the first, excuse me, 16 episodes, it was a collective effort between Paul, 17, sorry, me, Paul, and Benny. Right, Benny did his thing. My brother was off the cuff. He did his comments. He provided comedy relief. He was himself. Paul was very much himself. Into the conversation. Um, Asked his questions when they came up. Uh, he was like a calming energy to like. He was like the perfect medium between me and Benny. Um, but it was dope. I loved it. I loved doing it. Then when we started shooting in person and we had a video component, that's when Justin came on board. It's like episode 10. It was cool to do a visual component to it at that point in time. It was something that not a lot of pods were doing. Actually, podcasters were frowning upon doing a video because it wasn't true to podcasting to do a video component along with the show. So we did it. It was great. I started having conversations with guests that I was like, oh man, this dude's gonna come on the pod, or he's like interested, or he's heard about it. So I was like, all right, this is, you know, I always tempered my expectations, but I was thinking, okay, we're going on a path where we should be heading. Um, then Paul left, Cray stepped in, and I felt like when Paul left and Craze came in, it changed the dynamic of the show. Uh, First of all, it was cool because I've always done stuff with Craze, so like we've always created things together, and it was great to bring him in. I've known him all my life. He would give ideas, input. He would help with the process. Um, Everybody wants to eat the food. Nobody wants to be in the kitchen making it, and he wanted to do both. He actually didn't even want to be eating the food. He just wanted to make it, just like me. So it was great having him there. He provided comedy. We went back and forth. It was great having Justin. I really appreciated Justin so much. Like he dedicated a lot of time and a lot of effort into making the show look great. And at that point in time, if you look at the Ricky show throughout the years, it had a specific every era. It's like there's like three or four different eras. First era was just audio, then it was Justin, then it was the COVID version where it was all virtual, then it was the Cabo version of the show. So it was always a collaborative effort. It was always not just about myself. So every time I gave an interview, I always spoke about it. You know, it's a collaborative effort. And then people would joke, oh, it's a collab, but your name's on the show. Right. Um, the last couple of years, my brothers wasn't on the show anymore. Jazz was great. Thank God. Jazz came on the show as my co-host, and it gave me like a second win, and it helped. with the creative process. Um, and she stabilized their back a little bit for me. Uh, but the last year and a half or so, it's been, I wasn't invested into it like I was when I first started the show. And I couldn't figure out why. Um, and last month, I figured out what it was. When I did the show, there was different components, and it was never fully developed. It wasn't, like I said, given the attention, the treatment, the why. You know, Uh, I'm gonna give you a lot of behind the scenes shit right now. This is my real send off to the Ricky show. Um, when I started the pod, my first instinct was I need to book this guest, that guest, this guest, that guest, this guest. Not because I believed we could create great content together, but because I wanted to, like Nueva York, he got, well, I don't remember how many followers. I was like, yo, if I get Nueva York on the show, his people will watch the show, they'll tune in, um, and they'll become listeners and subscribers. You know, I felt like if I booked certain guests, I would get that rub off the guests. Um, and that's the wrong mentality to have. The mentality to have, which, you know, been doing this for I would say 7 years, six on the Ricky show, uh, is people need to tune into the pod for the pod, not for who's on the pod, right? So that's the first, you know, lesson I've learned. I'm very appreciative of the podcast. I'm not going to talk down about it. It was a creation that I did with, you know, my best friend in the whole world, my brother, and one of my closest friends. Um, and we made this beautiful show with a lot of memories in it. And I learned a lot about uh, this field and this new media that I'm passionate about. So I'm kind of boring you guys. Let me speed this up. So yeah, I we did the show, and I've been reflecting a lot about it, a lot on it. Um, the last few years, monetary wise, I was getting ads and stuff like that. So I found myself doing the pod for the wrong reasons, and I also found myself always saying to myself, if I could do this again, I would do this way. I would do this that way. I would do this way. Um, and that's where the origin of this whole thing did started. So, uh, first mistake. This is for anybody who's potentially going to start podcasting or wants to do a show. Watch this back and write these lessons down, and I hope this helps you in the future. First mistake is create something people want to see. Be very niche about what you're creating. Make sure that what you're doing is intentional and with a purpose and entertaining, right? People listen and watch for an entertainment factor and an entertainment value of what you're producing. That's the first. So I was like, I'll do an interview show. I'll get people that people want to watch, and they'll watch the show, and it'll become big. Wrong. You create something from uh, from the ground up, and you create it with a solid foundation to then build on top of that. Yeah, that was the first thing I learned. Second thing I learned, I did a lot of outreach on social media, Facebook, email. Like I was very aggressive from the beginning, trying to book guests, trying to get people on the pod, and um, my thing was I felt like people weren't responsive because they would look at the number of followers. Right, that's the first thing. Um, and instead of thinking, let me just again do the show for what it is, speak to the people that I know, build it brick by brick. You know, I took the shortcut with the Rick Gage show twice. The first was that I didn't develop it correctly. We didn't spend the direct. There was from the beginning there was a direction. It was switched. 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 Um, the second thing was uh, in order to gain a certain amount of guests, I would say, uh, I got fake followers on Instagram. Everybody has fake followers. So if you say you don't have fake followers, believe me, I've been in this game so long. I know how to find it. I know how to see it. I know what it looks like. I can see it when just by looking at them. So I bumped the page. It went from a real 500 people following it, and instead of growing those 500, I took that from 5 to 6,000. So 500 to 6,000. Now, at the time, Paul and Benny did advise me, don't do that. You're gonna ruin the traction of the page. I didn't understand that. I was like, dude, if I get it at 6K, right? Because I was looking at the other shows, they were like, oh my God, that's another mistake. Don't compare yourself to nobody. Be yourself, do your own thing, live your own vibe. If I get us to 6K and I send a message to this person's going to be like, oh, okay, they're starting out, they got a little following, I'll get on the show. Wrong. People will go to your show because of who you are, how you produce it, how you present it, how you go about it. So the concept and the idea. Keep it organic. Be yourself. Um, and know what you're doing and make sure you're in love with what you're doing. And if you're doing something and you're putting an effort and the other people you're collaborating with are putting an effort and it doesn't match, then there's something there. This speaks volumes. So for several reasons, I've been on two networks with the Rick Gage show. Three, actually, I should say three. Um, I felt like I got everything out of it that I could. I learned all my lessons. I knew how to. By that time, I had already, built other shows and started other things for helped other people produce other stuff. So I was confident, and I felt like it was time. Now, the last episode I recorded, did I know while I was recording that episode it would be the last? Absolutely not. I recorded the episode. I had a great time. And it ended with me doing an episode with Jamie, Bago, and Jerry. And we had a great time. We spoke about the Knicks. Um, we got some clips we were able to, cut up and produce for social media. And it gave me like I don't know what it was, but after I did that pod, I was like, man, I like this show. I like talking about sports, but I don't think I could do something just, sports related, sports related, sports related, sports related. And coincidentally, the show started as a sports podcast and it ended as a sports podcast. But in between, it was about interviewing people, culture, comedy. It was like a big sancocho of different things. So, um, yeah, I decided to close the show down for good. And the reason I'm moving my headphones is because I'm gonna say this. Did I have 7,000, 8,000, 10,000 followers on social media legit? No. Did I win multiple awards? Yes. Did I get multiple nominations? Yes. Did I interview some of the people that I grew up, I wouldn't admiring and looking up to? Yes. Did I create something? Yes. Did I learn? Yes. Did it make me go back to, I went to school and I went to school to study this? Yes. Um, but after I recorded that episode, I knew, I already knew it was time. And it was time for something different. It was time for not a rebrand, because I had done a rebrand and I did that like recently with the Rick A show. I knew all those questions about, if I did this again, how would I do it? I had an answer for it. So let me start off by saying what you can expect from this podcast. It is 100% me. It is stories about me and my life that we can share and laugh together, and what I've learned. First. Second is not only my story, I will be interviewing specific people, and they will be sharing their stories and what they've learned, and we can laugh at that together. Um, you can expect comedy with everything. This is a comedic view of someone's path or journey to what they're doing now. Um, the reason why it's called Funny Little Stories is because when I was in school, and I actually created the show in 2021. I just never, you know, fully developed it until now, which is where I'm at. Um, I wanted to do something that was me. This is completely me. This is not a collaborative effort. The Rick A show was a collaborative effort. It had a little bit of everybody. This is all me. This is my writing, because these some of these episodes are written. Um, I hope you guys enjoy it, and I'm in a space now where I'm very excited about doing the pod. That's the first thing. The second thing is I feel like I could share, some wisdom. Um, and it's just sharing. If you take it or leave it, that's on you. I really don't care. Another thing is I wanted to ask myself after I finished the Rick A show, what is determining the success of this podcast? Is it the amount of views, the amount of listens, the amount of follows, the amount of none of that? I'm purely doing this for myself, to answer a question for myself. Whether you like it, hate it, love it, that doesn't affect anything. I already won my awards. I already have worked with some of the biggest people. I already have that validation. I no longer, I don't need any of that. This is just purely something that I enjoy doing and I love doing. And when I stopped doing mentally, it affected me. And that's something you see, I'm sharing. This is sharing. Come to the circle and share. It's story time. Um, yes. So, first reason, it's a show I developed and I had a great idea and I was very enthusiastic about it. So I wanted to do it. That's the first reason. Second reason, I sat down, I wrote what this show is, what I want you to get out of it, how raw and authentic I wanted to get on this show with my audience, and how I wanted to interact and engage with them as much as possible. because although I am doing the show, I am actually doing the show for you guys to enjoy, like, tune in whenever you want. Um, and I figured today, being September 6th, it'd be a perfect day to officially say goodbye to the Rick A Show and say hello to Funny Little Stories. And the universe is a crazy thing because I believe in certain, you know, I wouldn't say science. I believe in, like, things happen, right? So, I'm a big Linkin Park fan. I've always have been. Chester died in 2017. They are releasing a new album. They released a new single. The album's called From Zero. It comes out in November. They're doing a tour. They have a new singer. There's a new drummer. There's like a lot of newness to it. And the reason why the album's called From Zero is because they're starting from scratch. And literally, that's what I exactly wanted to do. I didn't know they were doing any of this. It coincides with what I'm doing. So that's one thing. The other thing is, last year around this time, I had finished uh, one of my bucket list goals, which was to get a bachelor's degree in media. You know, and I don't know. I just feel different about this product that I'm going to produce. Um, and so I wanted to come on here on the day where I, help create the other pod, say goodbye to that pod, and usher in a new pod with this one unannounced, like surprised for everybody, and and really want to get like feedback and interaction with what you guys think of the show. Um, the first episode will be live and it's on Tuesday. There are some other episodes in between, some pre-recorded, some live, some interviews, some just me. Um, and I've dropped a couple stories already. If you haven't watched the J Lo story, it's on my Instagram. If you haven't watched the ripping of the jeans story in front of my boss, it's on my uh, Instagram as well. The Ricky con que tú te vas a comer los huevos story with my godmother, that's also on up on the Instagram. And I'm gonna be sharing stories about my life, but also like my guests and people in my life. Funny things have happened, and you know exactly what this show is. You know when something happens, and then you say later on, "I'll laugh about it later." No, these things are gonna happen, and we're gonna laugh about them right now. Life is too short, and I think this show is about viewing life in a different way. So that's what this is. So there will be some laughter, there will be some humor. People will tell their life story, but it's not like, oh my god, I saw a dog in the street, and then I decided my life's purpose was to save all the dogs in the world. No, it's going to be life stories from a comedic point of view. I am going to make fun of whoever comes on the show, and they're gonna make fun of me, and we're gonna have a good time, and they're gonna tell a story, and there's gonna be a conclusion or moral to that story, and there's gonna be a reason why we're talking about it. So I just want to take a little time, toast to the Rick H Show. Thank you to everybody that helped me create the show. First of all, Paul, Rob, Benny, Justin, uh, Craze, um, Clarence, who was the photographer on the pod for a while, Jayla, Ellie Jazz, Jasmine Ruiz, Kava, the creator, all my guests, Nueva York, who's been on the show 25,000 times, Ivan, who's been on the show 25,000 times, my family, my friends, everybody that came out to watch the show live and in person. I want to say thank you to all you guys. Um, I want to say thank you to the Latin Podcast Awards, City Field, um, the Big Apple Awards, any event that we were ever at, HBO Max, um, any event that we ever did a live broadcast from or created. Um, I want to say a big thank you to the Monkey Room, Jacob and Gelba. I can't thank you enough for giving me that space and allowing me to create the pod out my own neighborhood, because the show was created to talk about the talent in the neighborhood, and for giving me that space and that platform. I want to thank everybody. Just thank you for listening. But cheers to the Rick Gage Show, and hello to the new one. Mm, 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 mm. That's delicious. So if you haven't done so already, go to funny.little.stories on Instagram. Follow us there. There is a brand new YouTube channel, which we're broadcasting live from right now. I think you have to look up Funny Little Stories with Rick Yarrow on YouTube. Go subscribe to that, please. We do have a Twitch, Funny Little Stories. Go there as well. And if you cannot get to any of those, go to Rick Hero on Instagram, and it'll guide you to where you need to go to follow some of the stories. Um, every episode will be a chapter. It will be a book. It will have a sequence to it. It's This is completely different. So if you're tuning in thinking you're going to see the Rick H show, you're not. This is going to be 1,000% different, even from the color scheme. Like, I don't really like red. The only attachment I have to the color red is that I was a big Raphael fan from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when I was growing up. That's it. Um, but this is 3 years in the making. Like I said, 2021 was when I first started thinking of this idea. Um, and I'm excited for it. I hope you guys are as well. You can leave me comments, questions, suggestions. Some people you might want me to interview. Although the first season, I'm not doing seasons, but the first round of interviews I will be doing will be people that I know personally. Um, so it's new and it's exciting. And um, last but not least, I just want to dedicate this show. Um, this is gonna be a little tough to get through, but I'm gonna say when I created my first pod, I dedicated it to my kids, my family, my wife. Um, my grandmother passed away this time of year, last year, on the 15th. Um, it's been difficult processing it all. Not just for me, but for everybody, my entire family. But reason why this is my dedication is when my grandfather passed when I was 2, she held our family together. She became the matriarch, you know, the sole, you know, singular person. Um, she gave the love that you needed, not the love that you wanted. So if it was a grandson or a son or a cousin, or that's how she was. That's who she was. And it's just a way of thanking her. It she got to see me do this in person at the Monkey Room. My mom took her one time, and it was probably one of my favorite memories. Doing the pod. But yeah, this is what it's for, and this is the real uncut version that you're gonna get. So this is the prologue. This is the beginning. This is the genesis. This is funny little stories. Before I go, I'm gonna try to share a funny story, although it's kind of hard. Go. I went into one subject, went back and forth. Back when I was a kid, my first love, even though I'm Dominican, was not baseball, was basketball. Um, I've talked about this on the Ricky show. You know how I cried when John Starks went 2 for 17, I think it was, Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Um, I was very reluctant to let people show me things. I thought I knew everything. I guess all children are like that. I tried out every year for the basketball team. I went to a little school in Washington Heights called Incarnation. Incarnation is like we are serious about our basketball. I mean, it's a really New York City type of school. I tried out every year, and I was always one of the last few to get cut. Um, I think it was around fifth or sixth grade. During the tryout, we're doing, I think 16, 18 footer jump shots. And uh, one of my classmates, my form is not, now is better. When I'm doing my shooting, I get into my little rhythm, my zone. Don't let the 258-pound guy fool you. I could get my shot. Don't give me. I do the karma. Don't give me the space. I'm gonna release. Right. My classmate goes, "Yo, why you shoot like that? You look like you got hemorrhoids." That's crazy. Ricky hemorrhoids. When I told you for 4 or 5 years, and I tried to, Ricky hemorrhoids was what they would call me in school. That changes a sixth grader or seventh grader, you become self conscious about things. But at the end, you learn to laugh about some of these things. So yeah, and then Ricky hemorrhoids, then Rick H, Rick. Um, so yeah, if people ever ask you, nobody ever knew that about the Rick H show, the Ricky hemorrhoid show. It'd have been maybe that would have. Yo, would you buy a Ricky hemorrhoids show T-shirt? Ricky hemorrhoids. So um, I didn't really deliver that one as great, but tune in on Tuesday, 8 o'clock, 8:30. We're watching the Ricky. Ooh, I'll get it. I'll get it by then. You see, I'm so used to watch the Rick A show. Blah blah blah. Tuesday, 8:30. Funny little stories. Chapter 1. We get started on a new road, new show, new everything. If you haven't, again, funny dot little dot stories on Instagram. Funny little stories with Rick Hero on YouTube. Don't ask me why I had to include that in there. Follow us on X, Funny Little Stories Pod. And if you would like to send us an email, the email is, I should put that at the bottom because that would be more intelligent of me. Funny Little Stories Pod at gmail.com. So, uh, there you go. I'm excited. Again, it's bittersweet. I'm saying goodbye today to something I created 6 years ago, but I'm saying welcome to something new. I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Make sure you follow us, like, subscribe, all that amazing, beautiful thing that we do. And if it allows me for one last time, let me go out with art. My brother, I miss you every day. Thank you for providing the theme song.
You feel that knock? I feel like Rocky in this one, baby. Let's go. Alright, check it. Blast from the past, back from the future. So if I pull the trigger in the past, it's no you and your future. I'm still hustling, still hugging the block. The referee to the shit, I'm still calling them shots. I can't be stopped. That's